that to quarterbacks around the league, right? But the thing that I love, as you mentioned, was the poise. I mean, he looked completely unfazed on that final drive. And I think if put in that kind of situation again, he's going to figure out a way to get a win for his football team and not leave it into the feet or the calf of a kicker to try and
It
tie
was
the game and prolong it.
Yeah, it was a terrible miss at the end of
Yeah.
that ball game. There was a couple moments though where they went empty, and Joe kind of wanted to just sit back in the rocking chair like he did at LSU, and he quickly realized, okay, this is not LSU's offensive line in front of me, and that is not Tulane's defensive line on the other side. It took him a little bit to try and speed up his clock, but then he got going. All right, Buck, what's your first takeaway?
Cam is all about the Patriot way.
Newton fakes and rolls to the right. Cam's going to run it to the 10, outside to the 5. Newton to the pylon. Got Touchdown, it. Patriots! His second in his New England debut.
Former Georgia Bulldog, team captain David Andrews gets handed the ball for the spike. It's a way to smell the goal line and get in and lower your shoulder.
You know, when you look at this combination on paper, you wondered how it was going to work out. But Bill Belichick and those guys continue to find a way to take players and put them in the best situations to succeed. You watch this offense. This offense looked nothing like the Tom Brady offense. They ran the ball 42 times. Cam had 15 carries. In fact, they were doing things that Cam used to do back in Auburn. Quarterback powers, things where he's coming downhill. So much for, hey, we're going to protect Cam. Cam was playing the way that he always played. And I'll say this, I always believed that Cam Newton would benefit from playing under Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick because more attention to details and better discipline. We saw a very efficient passing performance, and as he continues to get comfortable in this system, I think we will see him manage the game better, and that is a scary proposition for opponents having to face the Patriots.
Yeah, Rhett, I don't know about you, man, but 15 carries for Cam Newton as we go forward. He was tackled 10 or 11 times in those carries. So when you kind of juxtapose the way he was running versus Kyler Murray, who we'll get to, Kyler Murray only got tackled one time. He carried the ball 13 times. He got tugged down by his shirt lightly to the ground. Cam Newton's dropping his shoulder on guys, and I don't know if that's going to be sustainable. I love the way they've established a physicality there at the line of scrimmage, and he was efficient as a passer. They're going to have to dial that back a little bit, in my opinion.
I mean, he looked like Ironhead Hayward down there by the goal line. I mean, he was trying to truck guys and get into the end zone. And I get it. I love watching Cam play that way. I feel like that's when we get that energy from him. That's when he's got that ear-to-ear smile. That's when he's at his best. I wonder, like you, how viable it is for a full 16-game and regular season and perhaps playoff appearance. Now, the question that I'll have, for you guys here quickly is, was this game plan for the Miami Dolphins, or is the QB power, the QB design runs for Cam Newton going to be a staple of this offense? Because I do question the development of the pass game a little bit here. Bucky, when you look at N'Keal Harry, 5 catches, 39 yards, Julian Edelman, 5 catches, under 70 yards. I mean, where are the explosive plays going to come from when they need it?
No, I think this is the way the Patriots have to play because I think this is the way that Cam plays best. We can talk about what they tried to do in Carolina, transitioning him. He actually got more injuries and was hit more when he was trying to be the pocket player. I think with Cam Newton, especially if you're the Patriots, he's on a one-year deal. I think you have to play him the way that he has always played at his best, and that is with him running the ball, a heavy dose of Cam, basically being a single-wing quarterback. That is when he's thrived. And I think in terms of the explosive plays come off play action. I saw the stat, according to Next Gen, 88% of the plays were either runs or play action. That's the Patriots offense, and I think that has to be the offense going forward because of the talent that they have. They're going to have to run the ball and really lean on their defense to win games.
All right, Rhett, what's your takeaway here? What do we got?
All right, takeaway number 3, taking you to Baltimore, where Week 1 was an MVP encore for Lamar Jackson.
Jackson looking to throw, has great protection, lobs to the 5, it is caught, touchdown, Willie Snead! And Lamar Jackson has delivered his 3rd touchdown toss of the day. So to those who wondered if Lamar Jackson could deliver the ball downfield, if he could stand tough in the pocket when it was collapsing, if he could hit the throws outside the numbers, the answer is an unequivocal yes, yes, and yes.
You know, guys, with expectations absolutely sky high for the reigning MVP Lamar Jackson, I thought he stood up and even exceeded them. In expectations the same for this Ravens team. I thought they exceeded them. This game was never really in doubt against the Browns. I mean, the Ravens were in control of this game, capitalized off a couple of early turnovers. But for Lamar, he talked all this offseason about wanting to improve everything in this game with a special emphasis on the deep ball, and you saw it right there. That deep ball to Marquise Hollywood Brown was a thing of beauty. That was Russell Wilson-esque, dropping it in the bucket like that. His connection with Mark Andrews, the tight end, is as good a quarterback to pass catcher connection as there is in football. They connected twice for touchdowns. According to Next Gen Stats, on the deep ball in particular, I thought this was interesting, DJ. 11 of 13 for 194 yards, 3 TDs, and a perfect passer rating on throws that went 10 plus yards in the air. So even when the run game is not dominant, they can rely on Lamar Jackson and his right arm to get things done.
It was interesting when you watch the tape, Buck, because when I watched it, when they're rushing 4, playing with 2 high, they couldn't get home. And when they did get home, Lamar was able to buy a little extra time, and that's when a lot of those plays developed down the field. By the way, side note, if you're gonna put Marquise Brown in the slot and you're going to give him free access on your safety, you get absolutely what you deserve with that. There's no chance that's going to end well for your defense. But when they rushed 4, Lamar was patient back there. He just sat back there, waited for things to uncover. If he needed to buy some time, he bought some time and made plays down the field. I saw Cleveland gave him just the tiniest bit of trouble when they started sending some extra rushers at him. I know you kind of want to be conservative because if you miss him, he can gash you with his legs. But I thought they really tried to sit back in this game, and Lamar showed a lot of maturity to sit back there and pick them apart. I think going forward, you play the Ravens, you're going to have to try and heat him up a little bit. You can't just sit back there like that.
Yeah, no, DJ, I agree with you. And I think that is the flawed game plan that you have when you face the Baltimore Ravens. They throw so much at you. You have to deal with the powerful physical running game that they have with 4 running backs. J.K. Dobbins showed up, had a touchdown. You have Lamar Jackson, who's also a part of that running game, doing quarterback read options and all of the stuff that they do with him. And then the vertical passing game that they've unveiled. Hollywood Brown, Willie Snead, those guys being able to really take the top off the defense, they give you a lot to think about. And you're right. I do not believe you can sit back. You have to come after Lamar Jackson. You have to make him make quick decisions on the fly. I think if you're sitting back, man, he's just going to carve you apart. And he has shown over time that he's a much better passer than we have given him credit for, and he's continued to improve in that phase.
And how about we even got the rookie?
Go ahead, Rhett.
We got the rookie 2 Tuds. We got Tuds or Tubs. I still don't know which one it is, Bucky. But we got J.K. Dobbins into the paint twice.
J.K. Dobbins putting it in the end zone. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, they got it going. I know what my little mini takeaway off of that as we go to a little bit of a break here was, man, I'm already jonesing to give me some Kansas City Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens. I want to see that right now based off what those 2 offenses look like early in the season.
Load it up.
Well, it's fun to watch Sunday Night Football and watch the Los Angeles Rams open up that beautiful new stadium against the Dallas Cowboys. It actually ended up being a very entertaining game as well. Wish you could have had some fans in there to really get that energy cranked up, but nonetheless, it was fun football. And my biggest takeaway from that game, Aaron Donald is a bad man.
Prescott sits in the pocket, has to bring it down. He's hit. He's wrapped up. He's sacked back in Dallas territory. Aaron Donald with his first of the new season and his first career sack against the Cowboys.
If you don't get the ball out on that third step or that fifth step, Aaron Donald will be in your face.
I don't know what analogy we would use, Buck. We have a lot of those, those scouting phrases. Bowling ball of butcher knives, a bowl in a china shop. I don't know what we want to use for Aaron Donald in that game, but disruptive from start to finish, run, pass. It did not matter. He's so unusual to see somebody with that type of leverage and explosiveness. This is a good front that he went up against. I mean, these are all pro players, and you got one of the best pass protecting backs in the National Football League. He's throwing them around like they're little kids in this game. Just when you think you couldn't be more impressed with Aaron Donald, you see a showcase game like this one, Bucky, and he blows me away.
Look, man, he is very impressive. And I was very impressed with the Rams defense. You just didn't know what Brandon Staley was going to do because he's stepping in big shoes. Wade Phillips is, one of the best to ever do it on the defense side of the ball as a coordinator. He steps in, and I would say the first thing that stood out to me, they were far more diverse in their coverage. With Aaron Donald being able to rush up front, we saw them jump into some two-deep coverage. We saw them use some trap coverage so Jalen Ramsey could get some big shots on wide receivers. We saw the overall tenor of this team, a more physical unit, not only on defense, but on offense. And so, look, we've kind of dismissed the Rams having an opportunity to kind of climb the ranks in the NFC West, but the team that showed up on Sunday night is certainly good enough to go toe-to-toe with the other contenders in the division.
Yeah, and as you alluded to at the beginning there, DJ, this is not against any slouch of an offensive line. I mean, he goes up against regularly in that game, maybe the premier guard in football in Zach Martin right there. And I thought he got the best of him for a good portion of this game. I mean, he rushed the passer 35 times, generated legitimate pressure 10 times out of 35. I mean, that's a phenomenal pressure rate for an interior defensive lineman. I mean, Floyd coming off the edge couldn't get half that. He still got a sack. So it's kind of interesting to see that little tandem perhaps emerge for the Rams. But, I mean, Aaron Donald, it's clear, can still take over a football game when he wants, and he did on Sunday night.
Yeah, a lot of Dak criticism floating around on Twitter as well, which is ridiculous to me when you go back
3
and
and
watch
12
the
on
tape.
third down.
A lot of those third downs, you're 3rd and 10 plus. You have protection issues, which were documented by watching what Aaron Donald did. And Jalen Ramsey just mugged Amari Cooper. Now, you can just call it the most physical coverage. They let him play until, ironically, the end of the game where they let, through the offensive pass interference penalty. But they just mugged those wide receivers, Bucky. That, to me, looked like the way they were playing coverage, looked like the old-school Patriots against the Colts that we used to see, that type of physicality there on the edge.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny, right? Because this is a tale of two offenses. When you look at the Rams, it is all sizzle and sexy and moving and misdirection and all those things. And the Dallas is just a very straightforward, basic offense. And they just basically overwhelm you with their talent. The problem is when you get in these long yardage situations, you have an undrafted free agent in Terrence Steele playing at right tackle. They were isolating him by putting 3 defensive linemen on the other side, forcing the offensive line to slide that way and making Terrence Steele deal with whoever they had on their side. It could be Leonard Floyd. It could be whoever they wanted. And he was having a tough time dealing with the fastball, particularly late. This Dallas team is talented, but their offensive line is an Achilles heel. And we need to change the narrative about this being one of the best offensive lines. They aren't what we thought they were. This is not the unit that really took the field a couple of years ago.
Right, without Travis Frederick, without Lyle Collins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Buck, what's takeaway number 5?
Hey, so with the Washington football team, grit matters.
2nd and goal from the 3. They hand off here to Peyton Barber with time. Dives through. Is he in? Yes! Touchdown! Touchdown, Washington!
And this Washington team is excited, guys. Come on. This is what we're talking about.
You know, when we looked at this team and you look at them on paper, offensively, you're like, man, I don't know if they have enough talent to win games. But when you flip over the defense and you see the tough-minded crew that they've assembled up front, they can dominate. And I think what we saw is that star-studded front line took over, and their toughness overwhelmed the Philadelphia Eagles. 8 sacks from these guys up front. Ryan Kerrigan had 2. Chase Young had 1.5. And then they just got after it. DJ, you tweeted out about just the game plan that Jack Del Rio had for this front line. If they're able to continue to get this effort, this is a team that may win 8 or 9 games just on the way that their defense plays, because this defense is top-notch, particularly in the trenches.
It looked like those old Carolina defenses, Bucky, that you're familiar with, and watching the front get after it, watching a secondary that plays with eyes on the quarterback at all times, a lot of bail coverage. But then you saw Carson Wentz get locked on. They can put their foot in the ground, drive on it, and make plays down the field. But I thought this was a major miscalculation by the Philadelphia Eagles. They had no Lane Johnson in this game. You have no Brooks in this game, one of the best guards in all of football. So you're missing 2 All-Pros. You've got some speed that you got in the draft with Jalen Reagor and Hightower. You get Deshaun Jackson healthy. And it looked like they just wanted to go out there and play with all these new toys and really push the ball vertically down the field. They can't protect to be able to take those shots. And even when they did have some opportunities, Wentz missed some throws down the field as well. So they've got to go back to the drawing board a little bit. They've got to get their running game going. They've got to get Miles Sanders healthy. But again, you're right, Buck. I would tip my cap to Jack Del Rio, to Ron Rivera. That was a physical football team we saw from Washington in that one. It was an impressive win for them over the Eagles. All right, Rhett, what's your next takeaway?
Yeah, takeaway 6 is going to take us to the NFC North, where you should not doubt Aaron Rodgers.
3 receivers right, 1 to the left from the shotgun. 2nd and 10. Snap, A-Rod going deep down the right sideline. MVS has it to the end zone for the touchdown. Oh, what a play. He took it away from Cameron Dantzler. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. 45-yard touchdown reception.
All right, guys. So let's go back to April, because I don't know how seriously everybody out there, Packers fans, really took the Packers' motives in trading up for Jordan Love and selecting him, the quarterback from Utah State, in the first round. Though you've got Aaron Rodgers still, in the prime of his career here. So I don't know how much I buy into the whole, Rodgers is going to play with the chip on his shoulder and he's going to play on fire like his left tackle David Bakhtiari said moments after the pick. Lest we forget, the guy's just really flipping good. Like, he's a generational talent at quarterback, and he showed you why on Sunday. I mean, the throws that he was making, these are those tight window throws, those improbable completion percentage throws. In fact, Next Gen Stats tracks this now. He had the 24-yard TD pass to Davante Adams, completion probability 16%. 40-yard completion to Adams in the fourth quarter, completion probability 14%. I mean, this guy makes difficult throws look easy, and let's not forget about it. Now, it certainly helps when you're only hit twice the entire game. Vikings had no pass rush for him, and he was able to shred a couple of corners, Holton Hill out there, and then also Mike Hughes out there. I mean, Davante Adams, guys, he had a passer rating of 144 when he was targeting Davante Adams. And by the way, it was a very large sample size, 17 targets on the day, okay? So it's not like he just targeted him 4 times. He is an unbelievable quarterback, and I think we should have expected more of this in year 2 now with Matt LaFleur and placing a little bit more of an emphasis on the aerial attack, DJ.
Red, it's funny because I feel like we should issue some apologies to Brian Gutekunst because so much of the outrage with the Packers not taking Jordan Love in the first round had to do with them not taking a wide receiver. And maybe, just maybe, the Green Bay Packers felt like their guys were going to develop. So Davante Adams is the table setter. He's obviously the number 1. But we saw MVS make some plays. Marquez Valdez-Scantling make some plays and get down the field. We saw Aaron Rodgers throw it to other guys and allow those guys to make plays. And so as you're developing the chemistry with these young wide receivers, maybe, just maybe, they felt like these guys were going to take a step forward. And based on how they played against the Minnesota Vikings, those young receivers certainly stepped up, with Davante Adams certainly leading the way.
I was just thinking as we kind of wrap up this takeaway, it reminded me of kind of an open gym where the one guy walks in and you've got people trying to congregate and assemble their teams, and the one guy just give me 4 dudes, man. I'm going to go out here and just run this court real quick. It doesn't matter who I have. That was Aaron Rodgers in this game, but I thought Rhett nailed it when he was talking about the fact they had no pressure. Aaron Rodgers, as a 7-on-7 thrower with no pressure, there's nobody better. I mean, he's going to sit back there and pick you apart. Exactly what he did in this football game. So you got to be encouraged if you're the Green Bay Packers. You got to be a little discouraged with the lack of pass rush if you're the Minnesota Vikings. Everson Griffin no longer there. Where is that pass rush going to come from? So that's going to be a big challenge for that team. They need to get healthy up front. Some other injuries as well. All right, next takeaway for me. Just keep it on the quarterback theme here. Josh Allen still running the show.
It's a play fake. Allen, he's got a wide open lane and a Buffalo touchdown.
Great play action fake by Josh Allen, extending that ball so that all the eyes could see he's about to give it off. He pulls it back in, goes the opposite direction. Nobody there to touch him.
Yeah, this is a Buffalo Bills team that beat up the New York Jets, really on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and that physicality also comes from the quarterback position, which is what's unique about their offense. I thought we might see Josh Allen try and dial some of that back. Did not happen. He was very aggressive as a runner, but still threw for over 300 yards. I thought he did a nice job of taking what was there, but being selectively aggressive when he had opportunities. But Bucky, they're not going to be able to rein him in as a runner. Thankfully, he's so big and so strong and so sturdy, he's been able to hold up. But man, it is an aggressive brand of football, the way Josh Allen plays it at the quarterback position.
He certainly plays it in a very aggressive style, and I've said this. I believe that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane and those guys like Josh Allen because he could certainly do, to a lesser degree, some of the stuff that Cam Newton did when the Carolina Panthers went to the Super Bowl. They saw that offense have success. I think they've replicated it to a degree in Buffalo. And Josh Allen is what he is as a quarterback. He's a guy that is a streaky passer when it comes to his accuracy, but he makes up for it with his running ability and his overall physicality and toughness. I think that endears him to his teammates, but it also puts defensive coordinators in a bind. You have to defend the quarterback run game when you're dealing with the Buffalo Bills, and that is one of the reasons why sometimes we see these wide receivers run free, because everyone is really in a dilemma when it comes to defending this offense.
Yeah, another takeaway from this game too. Mario Addison, some of these players on this Buffalo defense that you don't hear a lot about, man, they have got so many good, solid players that play hard and they're productive. He was one that jumped off the tape to me when I watched him. Just a very competitive player coming off the edge. And then I thought, man, the other takeaway from that game, Sam Darnold was terrible. They could not get anything going offensively for the Jets. They didn't get separation down the field. They have no speed in the backfield. It was a rough showing there for the Jets, and lucky them, they get the Niners next week, who are going to be a little bit upset coming off their loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Not a great start for the Jets. All right, Buck, what's your next one there? You got one in the AFC South for us.
Yeah, in Jacksonville, youth is served.
Play fake. Minshew looks, fires, corner of the end zone, wide open. Keelan Cole's going to walk into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacksonville, and the Jags have taken the lead with 5:56 to play in the ball game.
Great play by the offense, great response.
You know, DJ, it's funny because you never know. When you don't have preseason, you can't see these teams play before. You just don't know. And so when the reports come out that Jacksonville has 16 rookies on their opening day roster, you're like, how are they ever going to compete? And here's what I'm going to tell you. They played hard, man. They played hard from beginning to end. Did a great job of giving the energy and effort that Doug Marrone wanted. Gardner Minshew was on fire. This game plan that Jay Gruden had, a lot of screens, a lot of sideline-to-sideline stuff. It was almost as if I was watching Minshew back at Wazoo. And then the young guys that they played, 2 starters that stood out. C.J. Henderson was terrific in coverage, had 3 PBUs, also had an interception. And then the undrafted free agent they had in running back James Robinson stepped up 90 scrimmage yards on 17 touches. Because of their young guys being able to step up, they knocked off a team that we are talking about being one of the top teams in the AFC. I just didn't see this. Hats off to Doug Marrone for getting his young guys to play so hard.
Rhett, I'd love to get your thought on that, because watching that game, man, you kind of got the full Phillip Rivers experience on the other side as well. You got the 300-plus yards, a bunch of big plays, but then you had those 2 throws. You can't have those mistakes.
Well, and I was talking to Danian Tomlinson about it on Game Day Live yesterday, his former teammate, Phillip Rivers, when they were together with the Chargers. And I was like, well, this is kind of why the Chargers were okay letting Phillip Rivers move on. Because, yes, while he will put up some numbers and put up some points and put up some yards, it's the turnovers that you can't live with. Now, they went down there. That first drive, I was like, all right, this familiarity with Sirianni, with Frank Reich, really is going to pay off. I mean, like that first drive was perfectly executed. Nyheim Hines had kind of become the forgotten man in this offense with Marlon Mack and then Jonathan Taylor. We didn't even hear from Jonathan Taylor until Marlon Mack got hurt with the ruptured Achilles. That's terrible news, by the way. But now that they got Taylor and Nyheim Hines, I don't think that we've heard the last of the Indianapolis Colts. I think if Phillip can find a way to just pull back a little bit, I know that's not in his DNA. DJ, you know that as well as anybody. But the other thing I thought was funny on the Jags side of things, Deej, was watching Gardner Minshew, after the game. This guy just lives for every moment. I love how passionate he is. I love his energy. And then he said, after watching James Robinson hurdle, I forget who it was on defense, and then run for about 25 yards on that reception, he said he turned and looked to his right tackle, Jawan Taylor, and he's like, who is this guy? I mean, like, literally, we didn't know. I get it, Gardner. I mean, we didn't know. Like, they cut Leonard Fournette. You're like, all right, who's running the ball for this team? Well, look, they're figuring out a way to do it. Also, Laviska Shenault, I thought he was pretty impressive as well in his debut.
Yeah, big-time talent there with Laviska Shenault. Buck, they've got a lot of speed on that Jaguar team, both sides of the ball. Young, inexperienced, but, man, what a great start for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, we mentioned it during the offseason when we were talking about the Arizona Cardinals. Bucky and myself, I don't know, Rhett, you have an opportunity here before we get to this takeaway. You can join the Move the Sticks Pinky Promise, which is the fact that we are all in on the Arizona Cardinals. We're not bailing on them. They're going to the postseason. We were on them before the season started. You put your pinky up there, that means you're in. And one of the reasons we're feeling good today is not just because we had a great Sunday of football. It's because the Pinky Promise thus far is looking good.
Snap to Murray, straight drop back with time, throws to the right, wide open Hopkins, caught at the 20, far side 10, 5, and he's hit at the 1. Welcome to the Valley Nuke. Deandre Hopkins, his 14th catch of the day.
I had an executive inside the NFC West after I posted some Kyler Murray runs this morning on Twitter. He called me and said, please don't post any more of those. You're giving me nightmares having to watch this guy run around. And he brought up a great point. It's like watching Russell Wilson in fast forward. That's what it looks like. He's a faster, more dynamic, more explosive Russell Wilson as a runner, who does a great job protecting himself as well, doesn't take any shots. And now you've got a legitimate number one wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. Buck, we mentioned the fact we were on this team, and I think Kyler was a big part of that, Hopkins. But then you also have a defense with some playmakers on that side of the ball as well.
Yeah, the defense stood up. You know, we've seen the San Francisco 49ers running game give opponents problems, but they didn't. They couldn't get their way up front. The Arizona Cardinals were able to kind of impose their will. They were able to keep the running game contained, and that in turn put the game on Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulders. And I think anybody who is facing the 49ers, that's what you want. You want to have to make Jimmy Garoppolo make plays when everyone in the stadium knows he has to make those plays, and he wasn't able to do it. But to go back to your point about Kyler Murray is so dangerous because he has that Pat Mahomes-like feel in terms of his arm talent, but he is more dynamic as a runner and playmaker. And then you pointed out, because you said this on Twitter, of those, 13 runs, 12 of those he didn't get touched. He was either able to slide or score or get out of bounds. His baseball ability and his awareness, knowing what's going on around him, that's what makes him dangerous because he doesn't put himself in harm's way.
Yeah, you know, the thing that I took away from this and watching Kyler, because I was caught up watching the Bucs and the Saints and the Bengals and the Chargers a lot during this afternoon window. So going back and watching DJ's Instagram feed, that next gear, that top gear that he hit on the touchdown run at the very end, I don't know that I've seen anything like it. You know, DJ, that next gear that I don't know that there are people out there, there are players out there that have that ability. I think it was Jimmy Ward that was chasing him down there towards the goal line. And I mean, he had 5 yards of separation like that. And what does it say about this NFC West division? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it looked like Derrick Rose. I mean, it just stupid explosiveness. I mean, to have he's running, he has to come almost to a dead stop. He's got a defender chasing him at full speed. He looks out of the corner of his eyes, sees him for a count, and then boom, he immediately separates like 4 yards. It was freaky to watch his acceleration there. So
what does it say about the NFC West that the last place team in the division just knocked off the defending NFC champions? What does that say about the competitiveness of this
Buck,
division?
I want to get to Buck on that. Because last year, we forget, Arizona Cardinals played the Niners tougher than anybody last year. Played them twice. Yeah. Played them tough. Could have beat them twice. So I don't know that this should be a big surprise to anybody. This is a team that is very dangerous as they start figuring things out under Cliff Kingsbury in year 2, Bucky. This is a team, I'm telling you, man, this is a scary group.
A very scary group. Just love the way they're putting it together. Give Cliff Kingsbury credit because he has certainly adapted and adjusted to the NFL game. We're seeing a little more balance. Kenyon Drake is the perfect running back for what they want to do. And then defensively, all eyes were on Vance Joseph. What was he going to do to a defense that was very disappointing a year ago? This defense has stood up. I like the way they're deploying their major playmakers. Isaiah Simmons, you can see him in action. Budda Baker, Patrick Peterson, Chandler Jones. They have enough to give people problems. And as long as Kyler Murray is able to get this offense going up and down the field, man, they're going to play a bunch of shootouts and they're going to win a ton of games.
Hey, DJ, one last thing before I get to this last takeaway here on a positive note for the 49ers. How great was it to see Jerick McKinnon get into the end zone after not playing a snap the last 2 years?
That's awesome. That was awesome. Hats off to him for just showing that stick-to-itiveness and that work ethic to get himself back and ready and get on NFL field. What an accomplishment for him. Yeah, easy to root for. Yeah. Easy to root for that guy. How about the final takeaway of the day here, Rhett? What do you have?
Well, okay. Here we go. The Atlanta Falcons are the best onside kick football team in the NFL.
Onside kick attempt to the far side. Falcons have it. The Falcons execute the onside kick brilliantly. Now, you can't advance an onside kick, but it was caught in stride by Foye Oluokun, and a beautifully executed onside kick gives the Falcons the ball back.
So look, guys, I mean, let me just give you the numbers here, okay? The Falcons onside kick that they recovered here against the Seahawks, it's their third since 2018. That's the most by any team since the rule restricting player movement ahead of the actual ball being kicked off the tee a couple of years ago went into place. They're 3 for 10 when attempting onside kicks. That's like Hall of Fame batting average numbers here, okay? If we're talking baseball. So the problem is, you don't want to be that good at the onside kicks. You don't want to have to attempt them that many times, but that's the case the Falcons have been in, especially early part of last season. They trailed from the jump in this game here against the Seahawks and felt like they were in desperation mode early, and that, of course, is because of the game plan that Brian Schottenheimer put into place for the Seahawks, where they came out firing in the pass game, which surprised me a little bit. They kind of made a name for themselves running the football, especially last year, with Chris Carson and company. He caught 2 touchdown passes in this game early, and then Russell Wilson just absolutely magnificent again with the deep ball. DK Metcalf, but I thought overall the Seahawks offense just absolutely overpowered this Falcons team. That again, Bucky has too much talent to be sitting here and kind of getting blown out at home in week 1 of this season.
Yeah, no, this is a tough one, right? It's a tough one for Atlanta Falcons fans because you're excited about all of the talent that they had on offense, but then you look up, Matt Ryan has 54 pass attempts. That is not a game plan that's conducive to them winning, particularly against high-end teams. They never could get control of the game because defensively they couldn't slow down the Seahawks. And then we talk about Russell Wilson and Russell Wilson being magnificent. 31 for 35, over 300 yards. There's a movement and a faction of fans, the 12s, that have been begging and clamoring for Pete Carroll and Brian Schottenheimer to let Russ cook. Well, they let Russ cook on Sunday, and they got off to a fast start. I think you can see Russell Wilson in the kitchen a little more, whipping up some nice dishes as the Seahawks go forward.
Well, the chef there had 4 incompletions and 4 touchdowns. So when those numbers equal, I definitely think you need to invest some more money in the kitchen and let Russ cook. To put it mildly, there absolutely.
I mean,
maybe throw some dessert in there. Why not?
And DJ, for the Falcons, look, they had more first downs, more passing yards, more total yards, more offensive plays, higher third down conversion rate. Only 1 real turnover in this game, and yet they trailed virtually the whole time. That's just you can't have those things. You can't keep having these things for the Falcons where they have to come back both in the landscape of a game and in the entire season like we saw here.
Well, they've tried to invest year after year. They've tried to invest in the pass rush and in coverage, and year after year those same issues and those same warts keep showing. So, hey, look, it's week 1. That's the good news. It's week 1. Don't overreact.
Just throw all
if
this
you're a
out the
Falcon
window.
fan, or if you're a fan of any of these teams that lost, just be patient. It's a long season. one of the things that Bucky and myself love about the Move the Six podcast is we get opportunities to talk to some outstanding guests, be it general managers, coaches at the NFL level, or even coaches at the collegiate level. And recently on a Move the Six episode, we had a chance to catch up with our good friend, Stanford head coach, David Shaw.
Have you got into a week one in your coaching career and had that kind of aha moment where you're like, man, maybe we hit too much, or maybe we didn't hit enough, or, man, we thought this offense that we were going to be playing was going to give us this and they gave us that. I would just love to know that moment that you have in the week one, because I think the NFL teams are going to experience that for the first time.
Yeah, as you both know, I did 9 years in the NFL before I did major college football. So I was in that preseason mentality of, right, you kind of, by that third preseason game after training camp, you have a really good idea of who you have. In college football or in the NFL right now, without those preseason games, you go into game one with kind of an idea of who you have, but it's really going to be 2-3 games before you completely know, right? Which of your veterans came back and they're not what they were last year? Which of your veterans came back and they're better than they were? Which of your young guys that you're hoping make an impact, but you're not really sure because they didn't do anything in the preseason? Will those guys show up or will they not show up? And that's the thing both of you experienced, where you have that late round draft pick, that mid round draft pick, that maybe this is a special teams guy. And oh my gosh, by the end of training camp, like this guy's going to start, right? Yep. You miss those aha moments during training camp. So you're going to get those aha moments the first month of the season.
So Dave, in thinking about that, because you're talking about like those aha moments happening in the opening game, how quickly are you willing to change once you figure out in week 2 or week 3, like we need to kind of shift our offensive or our defensive identity based on who we have, not based on what we thought we had?
Yeah, that's huge. That's really huge. I played for Bill Walsh, and Bill was the master of the West Coast offense, but also the master tinkerer, right? Mm-hmm. We can switch and emphasize different things week to week if we need to, or we can make big changes because the way you set up the offense is that it's adjustable, which is what we believe. I think Andy Reid's the same way. All those guys are the same. So you have to be able to see what you have. But sometimes when you don't have a preseason, it's going to take 3 or 4 games before you really completely know. And you have to be willing to see what you have and realize, as my dad used to always say, this is a players' league. You have to cater to your players' abilities and give them the best chance to go out there and win the football game.
Yeah, Buck, there's those aha moments, right? I mean, we saw it on Sunday with some of these young players getting out in the field. Unfortunately for a guy like DeAndre Swift, it was that moment with the drop touchdown at the end of that game. But so many young players stepping up and making plays in their first opportunity. But as always, great to catch up with Coach Shaw.
Yeah, great to catch up with him. He's one of the best in the business. And his ability to just talk about so many different things and understand the college game and the pro game and how the transition takes place really allows him to provide a lot of insight.
Yeah, you can just scan that QR code. You can go find the Move the Six podcast. You can listen to that full entire conversation we had with Stanford head coach David Shaw. It's time for Player Spotlight presented by Zaxby's, and a big game coming up tonight. The first opportunity we're going to get to see this new version of the Pittsburgh Steelers with the old version of Ben Roethlisberger, Buck. So to me, he's a player I'm going to have my eye on to see what he looks like coming off that arm injury.
Yeah, you want to see what he looks like. You want to see, does he still have the same kind of arm talent, arm strength, range? Does he have to change the way that he throws? Does he go from being a guy that used to love the deep ball to now he's kind of playing dink and dunk ball? The other thing that I want to see is I want to see the connection that he has with Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju was expected to be the #1 receiver a season ago after AB departed, but he didn't really thrive in that role. So now I want to see, do they have chemistry, connectivity, and is Juju ready to shoulder those responsibilities? Because how he goes will really impact the way that Ben Roethlisberger looks in his return.
Yeah, I know one thing. He's going to have a fantastic defense behind him. This Pittsburgh Steelers defense, I think, has got a chance to be the best defense in the National Football League with a couple legitimate NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidates, a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick back at free safety. Look at T.J. Watt coming off the edge, and really even Devin Bush at the second level. They've got impact players at all three levels. So I think Ben's going to get the benefit of some short fields, and if he can get some confidence going early, you mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson's another one I could see getting going. I think this Pittsburgh Steelers team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender, Buck.
No, I think they're definitely in the mix, and I think they may need to operate differently than the way that Ben Roethlisberger wants them to operate. Ben wants to throw it all over the yard, but this team is so good on defense, they may need to dial it back on offense, let their defense do the bulk of the heavy lifting, and then lean on Ben Roethlisberger when you need him, not just because you have him.
We are excited to watch Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers, see what they look like, see what that slim, trim Ben Roethlisberger looks like for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that was the Player Spotlight presented by Zaxby's. So a lot of football, a lot of great football we had the opportunity to watch on Sunday. A couple more games coming up on Monday. We've got an intriguing matchup coming up on the short week on Thursday. And we have all of your needs covered right here on Move the Sticks. You can find the Move the Sticks podcast wherever you download podcasts. You can find the YouTube content. We have youtube.com/NFL podcast. Check us out there as well. He's Bucky Brooks. I'm Daniel Jeremiah. Rhett Lewis joined us as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.